What can kill you that people often underestimate? Stairs. One minor misstep and it's really easy to fall. I am constantly almost dying on stairs. It's only a matter of time. Nearly broke my knee 6 times at the workplace. Same to same. I have to take each step carefully lest I fall into an abyss. It's only a matter of climb. I almost died from carbon monoxide poisoning 2 days ago. I spent about 2 days just passing out in my bed, I was so tired. Eventually somebody smelled gas because I couldn't, so they called the energy company who had somebody there maybe 30 minutes later. Her CO meter was going off as she walked up to the door before it was even open. She said open windows and leave right now. That was when I realized I had been passing out for 2 days and in such awkward positions that my back was sore as hell. So I got to the hospital and my resting heart rate was about 130 and I was told my skin was an off color, but other than passing out I felt no symptoms. I didn't notice my heart rate was so high because it wasn't accompanied by heavy breathing like usual. I was the only one home most of the time. I might never have woke up if that had continued for much longer. Shamefully late edit. Many of you have expressed doubt that you can detect carbon monoxide, and I think it's important to understand what happens and where it comes from for the sake of all of our families. I'm no chemist and had no idea 18 days ago, so correct me if I'm wrong. Also much love for everybody's support. We ended up needing a new furnace installed and have learned enough from this, I hope. Under ideal circumstances, propane and other fuels produce combustion products that continue to combust. The right number of oxygen atoms and propane molecules will harmlessly produce just carbon dioxide and water, but most likely a few intermediaries sneak out of there, like CO. A few other intermediaries also sneak out of there, some of which have aromas, and the presence of those other intermediaries indicates the same incomplete combustion that produces CO. If the fuel-to-air ratio is too lean or too rich, you'll have CO. This means that same trusty furnace or water heater you had for years can try to stab you in the back following unfortunate events, such as your sump pump burning out during a local flooding event. Seriously folks, if you don't have carbon monoxide detectors on every level of your home, go get them. If you are renting, get the landlord to buy them. My town requires detectors in all residential rental properties after an incident a few years ago when a woman who was noted for being too stupid to shut off her car, she'd go somewhere and then simply get out of her car without turning it off, left it running overnight in her garage. Entire family woke up dead the next morning. And if your basement floods, you should probably have gas-powered furnaces and water heaters checked even if everything appears to work. We think that's what did it. Fridges and vending machines. Don't climb them or shake them. Back when I was a heavy pill user, I was high at my parents' house trying to open their fridge. It had the kind of doors that would briefly lock after being closed, so you couldn't immediately reopen them, for like 3 seconds. Being high, I didn't get this and muscled those doors, pulled the fridge right over. Luckily the doors finally opened and caught the weight of the fridge on the door, so it didn't crush me. I think about that often and I'm glad I am sober now. The vending machine kills more than a shark. To be fair, that statistic would likely change if people regularly interacted and shook sharks down on a daily basis. Flare gun. Treated the same as a handgun. I know a guy who can only flip me off on one hand because of a flare gun. Is it cause you shot him with a flare gun? No, he found one and pulled the trigger. It was indoors too, in a small room. Poor guy. His bird flipper turned into mist. I don't understand this. Did something go wrong with it? How are they supposed to work? Water. Pools, lakes, etc. People forgot how easily their children or themselves can get into trouble while they are near the water. From Michigan, so lake swimming is a big thing. If the lake water is over my head, I have a life preserver on, done, no exceptions. I'm a healthy young adult, but one wrong breath or cramp and you sink, and you're not kicking off the mucky bottoms in a lot of our lakes like you can in a pool. My family are all lifeguards and I can't stress how important that last line is. People died just assuming the ground is similar to sandbars or pool walls. Wait, I've been lake swimming before and the shores weren't particularly mucky. Is it somehow worse the deeper it gets? Lack of sleep. It will do you in and lower your life quality until it does. Even a measly 2 hours can be the difference between a super dark mood or my normal cheery 8-hour self. It's just odd how fast lack of sleep will fuck with a seemingly stable mental state. From what I've read, it's because your brain has its own specialized lymphatic system called the glymphatic system. Sleep is the only time it can effectively drain certain cellular wastes, so lack of sleep leads to a buildup and impairment to function real quick. So basically your RAM is full, and you need to turn off for at least 30 seconds, minutes. Back in college I used to go a day or two without sleep without realizing how bad it was. I used to brag about it too to my friends until my doctor told me it was literally going to kill me if I didn't stop. Even a small nap is 10 times better than no sleep at all. You can pull that off in your 20s, but forget about it at 30. One bad night and you will need to recover the rest of the week. Ha 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 ha. Try that shit when you reach your 60s. Now get off of my lawn. 24 here. If I don't get 6 hours I feel it for 2 to 3 days. Bacteria. Appendicitis. Dad told me to man up, shut up and deal with it, and to fix my diet, and that it was just a stomach cramp that everyone gets. I'm on the smaller side and pretty fit. If I had followed that advice I would have been dead by the next day. Had emergency surgery. He was giving me that lecture again when the doctor walked in and shut down every single point. Edit. My dad wasn't told it was appendicitis until after the surgery. He was upset and didn't show up until then. The doctor corrected him and he did apologize, since he had appendicitis when he was the same age, and when he was younger a neighbor of his had died from it. A neighbor of my mom's also died from it. Ironically, she's the one who says man up now, and my dad is the chill parent. That's how my paternal grandmother died. Her husband, my grandfather, told her to stop complaining. She was in her 20s with 4 kids. Wow. I bet he thinks about that every day. Poor grandma. The common flu. The estimated death toll from the flu in the 2017 to 2018 season in the US was 61,000. With 810,000 cases severe enough to require hospitalization. My boyfriend's brother was hospitalized recently with the flu. His girlfriend found him passed out in their bathroom. He's 38 and in relatively good health. The flu is nuts. My friend's mom died of the flu this year, she was otherwise healthy. Don't fuck with the flu, people. Flu kicked my ass, then turned into pneumonia and kicked it harder. I'm gonna be down for another few weeks till I'm back. I wanted to die, felt like I was mostly there, and I'm a fairly healthy young strong dude. I can't imagine how an old frail person could survive it. And I even got the damn shot. Flu sucks. I thought I was just being a baby this year, but man, I really felt like I was dying for the first 2 days of the flu. I had something flu-like last week, not sure if it was actual influenza, but it kept me home from work for the entire week. I could barely move. When I went to urgent care, one of the nurses told me that this year's flu seems to be particularly nasty. So you're likely not being a baby. Large bodies of water. The ocean wins every time. A river will win every time. Our bodies are weak and small compared to the sheer weight density of flowing water. Even still water is dangerous. I had a good friend who drowned 2 years ago. He was 22 and fit as a fiddle. I would describe him as athletic and trim. He died in a small lake in southern Utah swimming around. We think he got a cramp and drowned that way, but there's no way to know for sure. Water always wins if you don't take it seriously. Even then, there's no guarantee. And wave pools. I love the water. I could be on a boat every day and be very happy. But I will never get into another wave pool, especially ones that allow floaties. It's scary having all these people and their junk crashing into you at the same time as the waves. I know the lifeguards are watching, but still, if I got stuck under one of those inner tubes, I'm not sure if they would have been able to see me. Electricity. Very, very dangerous, but people just mess with it. My favorite electrical advice is if you short a high voltage transformer, it'll hurt for the rest of your life. Usually, a few minutes. Best warning sign I saw said, don't touch. Not only will this kill you, it will hurt the entire time you're dying. Jesus, why is this so far down? I work in a high-power electronics R&D facility, and I can't tell you how little electricity it takes to end your life. It takes only 50 volts to cross human skin, and if you take a shock to the heart of only 110 volts, yes, the amount in your wall outlet, it can disrupt your heart rhythm, and you can drop dead at any point for about the next 3 days. Even a small shock across the chest at work, and we are required to go to the ER and get an EKG until they're sure our heart is unaffected. Be scared of electricity, people. A teaspoon of water in the lungs can cause a person to drown. That small amount of water can trigger laryngospasm, closing off the airway. Secondary drowning is some scary shit. The body randomly killing itself by trying to protect itself badly is always delightful. Just a few days ago I read about a 2-year-old boy who choked while eating yogurt. His lung collapsed or something. Thankfully he was reanimated by his mother and taken to hospital, and now he has real problems. When he catches cold his lung stops functioning. A fucking yogurt. Taking the wrong meds together. That's why you should always let your doctors know what meds you might have been prescribed by other doctors. Cause mixing side effects generally tends to be pretty dangerous. And it's an even bigger problem for non-prescription meds because usually no one tells you that you shouldn't take them together. Edit. Since everyone is saying that and I didn't think of it before, so thank you for pointing it out, I want to add here that pharmacists usually know more about the interactions of the meds than your doctor. Especially since, as I said, your doctor can't see what other doctors might have prescribed you. Edit 2. Another thing I didn't know, be careful with grapefruit. Also alcohol, but I think that should be common knowledge. And some meds react badly to milk as well, I think. This is what killed my mom. She was taking over-the-counter medicine that interacted badly with her prescription medicine. I told her several times that it was dangerous, but she wouldn't listen to me. Pancreatitis. I was 17 and told my mom my stomach hurt and asked if I could stay home from school, to which she said no. So I skipped and went over to my then boyfriend's house because his mom worked from home and I felt like death and didn't want to be alone. I was throwing up so much I got really dehydrated and passed out. She took me to my mom's work and explained that I'd come over to her house and I was obviously ill and my mom should take me to the doctor. My mom took me to the walk-in clinic, they gave me nausea meds via shot and sent me home. That night I start running fever and can't get it to break. My dad, who is very easygoing and calm, finally puts me in the car and takes me to ER. CT scan showed my pancreas close to rupturing. I was admitted and had to stay almost 2 weeks in the hospital with no food or water. Everything through IV. It sucked. The morphine did little to help. My mom still thinks I was just being dramatic. Your mom's a bitch. Sorry, not sorry. She definitely has her moments. Thank goodness for my dad countering her crazy. Tylenol overdose. The difference between typical dose and dangerous overdose is surprisingly few pills. My friend worked as a resident in an ER and told me the story of a teenage girl who decided to attempt suicide. However, it was more a cry for attention than a real attempt, as she took a bunch of Tylenol, then immediately called a friend to tell them what she had done, so that friend came over and took her to the hospital. She got the attention she wanted and told my friend that she was okay after they pumped her stomach and all that and wanted to go home now. But you know, it was a suicide attempt, so they had her talk to someone. And it was true that it wasn't a real attempt to kill herself. She felt she needed to do something to get people to listen to her, or whatever, I'm not judging. She wanted to then just go home, but my friend had to tell her that she did massive damage to her liver and couldn't just go. Apparently she figured that it was just Tylenol, not sleeping pills or anything like that. He's like, no, sorry kid, we gotta deal with this. Note. Maybe it was kidneys, I don't know, it was bad whatever it was. Loneliness. I'm not trying to be deep or profound or whatever, loneliness makes me want to blow my brains out. I live across the country from my parents. I broke down crying when my dad hugged me when he picked me up at the airport. It was the first hug I had in 8 months. It was one of those moments you realize you haven't felt the warmth of another human being in years. Honestly, I need a hug like that. Had a really rough week that just got worse. Hug. Thanks man, it's all I really need sometimes. I think with its increasing prevalence, people underestimate type 2 diabetes. I could be wrong, maybe people have a solid fear of it, but it is truly terrible. It affects everything, from kidney function, your veins, which in turn affects your eyes, and can cause blindness and reduces blood flow everywhere, and can cause neuropathy and cause you to lose some of the feeling in your extremities. It can also raise your risk for high blood pressure, which is a whole other bunch of problems that comes with that. And probably more things that I'm forgetting. When I was taking anatomy and physiology classes, every time diabetes came up I was like, man, this disease sucks. It was the first thing to pop into my head when I saw this thread because a patient of ours in the office I work at just suddenly died of it. The family was in shock from what I heard. Yup, my grandma passed away because she refused to act like she was a diabetic. Sure, she would take her insulin, but she didn't watch her diet at all. And when the doctor told her she needed to start exercising, she just said no. Eventually ended up on dialysis, and then she decided she didn't want to do it anymore, so she stopped treatments and passed. Now my boyfriend is going through something similar with his dad. His dad has always refused to follow a good diet. We even tried cooking for him for a while, but he wouldn't eat anything unless it was horrible for him. Would constantly drink Coke. Now he has had both of his feet amputated and is going to be staying in a nursing home for the rest of his life. And he's still wanting to constantly eat candy and drink pop. My boyfriend is so frustrated with him since he is basically just committing suicide very slowly. For some reason people don't tend to think that a car can kill you. Edit. Wow, I didn't think it would become this big of a deal. But I'm glad that everyone agrees that safety is no joke. I was actually on a car accident when a drunk driver crashed me while I was on my bike. It wasn't anything serious, my jacket and helmet took the worst part, but it's scary to think that for just dumb luck, I made it, a little too early or a little too late and death. So always stay safe. Rules can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but they are there for a reason, and it's not to break them. Don't speed on yellow, especially if it's an intersection. Don't get cocky just because you are on the highway. You can and will lose control of the vehicle. Stay safe and be responsible. Edit 2. When I say bike, I mean motorcycle. Antibiotic resistance. You don't need an antibiotic every time you're sick. I promise. Do you know how many people come into my ER or any ER requesting ATBX without even having a diagnosis yet? They think they are magical. Or they come in requesting them for their viral infection that their doctor told them they had, but refused to give them ATBX for it. You know their viral infection. And when the doctor prescribed 7 days, complete it. Don't stop at 3rd because you already feeling good. Falling asleep on the toilet and smashing your head on the tile. After working 12-hour shifts 14 days in a row, it nearly happened to me. Luckily we had a bath mat, so I just got a minor head wound. My friend's mother died by slipping and cracking her cranium on the toilet. Piss but a scratch. I fainted while urinating at a friend's house one time. Fell backwards into the tub, hitting my back on the side of the tub. In retrospect, had there been glass doors instead of a curtain or I would have fallen a little differently, that fall could have claimed my life. High tension lines. I see people put their faith into lines so tight that it would cut them in two if it snapped the wrong way. Excuse my ignorance, why are people tying high tension lines? Your comment suggests this is something you see regularly. As it pertains to me at least, my company has us tie up ships at our dock. They're usually rope, but sometimes they're cables. Either way, if they snap they're going to take you out. The opening scene of Ghost Ship. Texting and driving. I'll do you one better. I saw this one driver take forever to move at a green light the other day because she was having a full-on sign language conversation on FaceTime while steering. She had like one pinky on the wheel. I did not understand the logic. I follow a guy that is always doing live Insta in his car, reading and replying the comments. He's going to crash any day now. Or get a fat ticket. The sedentary lifestyle. Just because it doesn't kill you now doesn't mean it isn't waiting. Like you. Waiting. For it to kill you. I have never been able to run a mile. I gained 30 pounds last year, and it hurts to run and be active. If I don't do something, I'm afraid I'll never be healthy physically. I'm doing small things every day, but trying to take small steps towards the big goal. Hey man, woman. I was in your shoes a couple of years ago. I started walking. Then jogging, then running. I taught myself how to do burpees and push-ups or sit-ups. I bought a cheap, used, rusted 15-pound kettlebell. Slow, steady steps. I learned about eating and macronutrients and adjusted my diet. 2 years later I've lost 40 pounds, can run for miles and feel fucking fantastic. You can fucking do it. You can. I believe in you and I know you can. But the only person who can get you there is you. Go get that shit. If you are unhappy the way you are, start making small changes and just don't stop making small changes. Overhydration. Everyone knows dehydration can kill you in a matter of days. But few people know that overhydration is just as deadly. People think it's just water, but drinking too much water causes your cells to swell up, including brain cells. Brain swelling is very, very bad. Not to mention the fact that it throws off your body's electrolyte balance. There have been stories of kids dying due to overhydration, either because they were dared to drink a bunch of it, or a babysitter made them drink it as a punishment, or other factors. It can happen to marathon runners who consume too much because of how hydration is pushed, or even military recruits. So take Uncle Rob's advice. Hydrate with whiskey like a real man. I'm not posting this because of coronavirus, but poor hygiene can result in many infections that can increase your chance of death in ways you'd never imagine. Ear infection. Poor oral hygiene can lead to this. Got you feeling a bit dizzy? You are more likely to die in a car accident now, or falling down things. This goes for many other things like getting pink eye from bad hygiene or catching viruses from not washing your hands. Clean yourself, people. My cat bit my hand up pretty good. It was my fault. I was trying to grab her when she got scared outside. My hand blew up like a balloon and started to pass like I was bitten by a recluse. My dad went with me to the ER with me. To my knowledge, I guess cat bites in the hand is extremely dangerous. The infection started to travel down my arm. I needed extensive amount of fluids and antibiotics. I went through my first round. When my doctor suggested another round, he threw a fit and told my doctor he doesn't know what he's doing. It was quite embarrassing when my doctor put him in his place. Did you get cat scratch fever? Yes, it's a real thing. I worked in a practice where we had a few cases come through. Pathology would call and have us check to see if patient had taken in a recent stray or had outside cats. The lymph nodes under their arms would become swollen and painful. Requires IV antibiotic.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.